Hello, and welcome to Eye on South Asia. I'm Bhavna Vanan, a new co-host.
Prakash Swami, Managing Editor, The Indian Express, North American Edition.
Each week, we bring to you the latest news and events with South Asians living in North America.
Bhavna, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And we're going to talk about the big stories the week. The Global Organization of Persons of Indian Origin is one of the oldest Indian American organizations founded in the country by a visionary called Dr. Thomas Abraham. He realized maybe 25 years ago that the Indians should have a voice in this country and unity is a best strength. I remember meeting him about 20 years ago when he had a great vision of uniting the Indian diaspora. So they had their biennial meeting in New Jersey last week, where I was there for 2 days. It was a grand gala. They invited all the lawmakers, politicians, community leaders, and the whole idea of Dr. Thomas Abraham and his kind of lieutenants like Ashok Ramsaran, Dr. Piyush Agrawal, is to empower the South Asian community through the political process. Because South Asians are a force in this country. And what happens is we normally end up in the professions like medical, legal, or IT, or whatever. There are very few politicians. Of course, things are changing. We have Bobby Jindal in Louisiana as governor, and Nikki Haley Randhawa as governor. And we have elected representatives in different districts, Upendra Chukala being the New Jersey deputy speaker. Of course, he was there, along with the speaker of the New Jersey Assembly, Sheila Oliver, who's a real pro-Indian. And the whole 2 days, or 2.5 days, they discussed on a variety of issues that affect South Asians, particularly Indian Americans, in this country. And one of the points that was discussed in the meeting is they want a lot of youngsters to take active part in the political process. And Upendra Chukala was mentioning at the meeting, like he started his career in the politics as a record clerk in the Democratic Party at the Franklin Township, which nobody wanted. That's kind of not a good job. Then he became a councillor, he became a mayor of the township, then he became assemblyman. In about 15 years, he's in deputy speaker. I'm sure he will go places. He will be the next congressman from New Jersey. So that'll give us a voice of the South Asians in the Congress. Now coming to the point, the important things discussed at the meeting was many of the leaders of the Indian American community who were gathered, expressed their concern about the growing scams and kickbacks, which is ruining the image of the country abroad. India is now a superpower almost, to any other extent, economic giant. And many of the companies from US go to India to invest and to start a business. And they found that India's middle class, it's a growing middle class, provides them an excellent opportunity to do business, like China. Now, when you have news like, scams and 2G scams and kickbacks and stuff like that, American companies may have a second thought. Well, we don't want to get caught in this mess. So the GOPIO is very particular. They send a signal to the government of India as part of the resolution saying that such things happen is going to ruin the image of the country in the US. So you've got to be very careful, because when you're looking for foreign direct investment, when you're looking for money from abroad, even Indians, just leave about American companies. I'm talking about Indians. Indians normally invest in India in real estate. And one of the points that came up for discussion, surprisingly, was people who buy properties in India, the properties disappear, fraudulently being taken over by gundas or thugs in the local areas. And Indians here work very hard, South Asians. We all make money after hard work. So we put the money back home in the country, we buy a property, we buy a building, land, and one fine morning you realize that's gone. How do you feel? So they wanted the government of India to make sure there's a proper legislation. Wait a minute. The government of India says, well, this is not my job. That's a state subject. So you got to go to every state should do something. So these guys met in Islin, New Jersey. They made an appeal to both the state governments and the central governments. Hey guys, we are putting millions of dollars in India to invest in properties. We're not asking you for any favor, but please make sure our property is safe and is not being taken over. And they had a lot of legal experts, community leaders, who gave a kind of incidents and narrations how a powerful mafia in India, backed up by politicians and local thugs, go and check the property records and realize the owners are not in the country and they're not going to come for another 2 years. So they prepare fraudulent records and transfer the property in the name of the friends, and then they sell it and they make money. So the Gopio, the one central theme of Gopio was, please protect our hard-earned money and the properties in India to make sure that we will come back and do more business. Do you have any comment on that?
So basically, housing is one of the biggest areas of corruption that you would say that is kind of affecting the image that we were discussing.
Not only housing. It could be agriculture property.
Okay.
Any immovable property is okay. But any movable property, like a land, building, agriculture property, they are subject to being illegally transferred. And if we find most of the NRIs here, the one single problem they're facing in India is they're not able to attend to the properties in India because they go, they buy the property in the name, register, come back. But then what happens? You can't keep going every month to check. So they leave it under the custody of the relatives, friends, and where the problem starts, the local people realize, hey, these guys are not going to be here, so let me take it away. Here I want to mention a very bold step taken by a southern state of Tamil Nadu.
Okay.
The Chief Minister, Dr. J. Jayalalitha, she's a very daring woman, politician of India. The moment she took over the power, some 6 months ago, she brought in a new legislation saying that anybody who forcibly takes over the property, they will go to jail. And more than 500 people, including politicians, thugs, and all these antisocial elements, have been put in jail, and the properties worth millions of dollars have been restored to the original owners.
Okay.
In fact, in the Gopio meeting, many people said, like the other chief ministers should follow the route of Dr. Jayalalitha in Tamil Nadu in taking away the properties and giving it to the legal owners. Well, Dr. Jayalalitha did not do it for NRIs alone. She did it for even the people locally. Sometimes the politicians go and threaten you and take your property, and then they give you some peanut and then take the property away. But many NRIs who from Tamil Nadu are benefited. And in fact, we carried an interview in Indian Express from Mr. George, who is the Additional Director General of Police of Tamil Nadu. He made an appeal to anybody who owns property in India and the property has been forcibly taken over by thugs. They said, just send me an email.
Okay.
He's a top police cop of Tamil Nadu. Send me an email with all the details and we will investigate and come back to you. And if you notice your property has been taken away, we will restore it back to you. That's an amazing statement from a police officer, and it means business. Because the state of Tamil Nadu says we want more people to come and invest, and unless we restore a law and order democracy, it's not going to happen.
So has this system been tested or implemented yet where complaints are given and action is taken based on that?
Yes, of course, there may be some cases where there's no truth in it. They may do it on vendetta.
Right.
But most of the cases, people come forward and give the complaint. They're found to be genuine. And a separate team has been formed in Tamil Nadu to check this malpractice. And many NRIs, many non-resident Indians from Tamil Nadu have personally told me that they benefited from their thing. And moving to the next subject in Gopio, they had a lot of grouse against the Indian missions abroad. You must remember a couple of months ago or years ago, probably last year, the government of India brought a new rule saying that any US citizen should surrender the passport and get a renunciation certificate if he wants to travel to India. Oh my God, this has caused a lot of headache to many of the overseas Indians because it's impossible for them to go and locate the Indian passport after 30 years. And Gopio, the organization, was one which took up the cause with government and said, well, you can't make me held responsible for what I didn't do 30 years ago. You should have told me that I'm supposed to preserve the Indian passport
Right.
and then, give it one fine morning, you wake up and say, where's your passport? Well, I'm a US citizen for 30 years. Where can I go and get the passport?
So
And-
these are U.S. nationals, people who have U.S. citizenship, or
Yes, absolutely. People who
Permanent
acquired
residency.
US citizenship.
okay,
And the reason given by government of India was they said, we want to check the security and the Home Ministry made the resolution, so we need to abide by it. But ultimately, the people who suffered are the diaspora Indians.
right,
So Gopi has taken a very good move. They criticized the government, not only criticized, they gave an action plan and told the government of India, well, you have to stop this. And the joke is, the government of India was levying a very hefty penalty on this. If you don't surrender your passport, you have to pay $300. A huge one. They brought it down to $20, $30.
okay,
Which is a good sign. Like, we need organizations like Gopio, which has been advocacy, not only mere talking, but delivering goods. And the kudos should be given to Dr. Thomas Abraham, Piyush Agarwal, Inder Singh, and Ashok Ramsaran, who have been the leaders of the diaspora and guiding the government in the correct path. Because after all, government sitting in Delhi, they don't know what's going on in other countries.
exactly.
You need organizations like this to go and tell them, hey, what you're doing is wrong, and this is what we feel, and you got to change your policy. And, in that way, I think Gopio really did a good job. Now, other important point which came up for discussion is Dr. Kanappan of Houston made a very valid point about the taxation. Like we discussed earlier in the show, there was a lot of confusion about the taxation issues. And that came up for discussion as to how the citizens should pay the taxes both in India as well as in US, and to avoid any penalty. And that was very interesting because many people said, why this subject? I would say the whole Gopio Convention was very educative and informative, and that really helps the diaspora Indians and the community at large, and also the government.
Hold that thought, Prakash. We'll be right back after this break.